Legion Tactical Cutlery.
Hold the line!
Hey everyone, how you guys doing? Grugs here, Legion Tactical Cutlery. Welcome back once again, troops, Legionnaires, new recruits, and we've got something pretty interesting in front of us today. This is the Jeabrother drop point in 14C 28N steel. They just sent it to me. It was a surprise out of the blue. Go check out my Legion premiere on this. Excited to test this out. We're going to see how it performs. All right, everybody, what is your EDC? Once again, I am carrying my beg letter from Kaiser. This is the drop point version in CPM 3V. What's everybody carrying? Veterans, active military, as always, just want to say thank you very much for your service. Enjoy the video. Quick specs. Overall length, 9.95 inch. Blade length, 5.06 inch. Blade material, 14C 28N. Blade hardness, 58 to 60 HRC. Blade thickness, 4 millimeters. Blade width, 1.31 inch. Handle length, 4.89 inch. Handle width, 1.24 inch. Handle thickness, 0.78 inch. Handle material, Micarta. This one is brown. They do have a gray one with a satin stonewash blade. This is black coated. Weight is 7.34 ounce. Sheath weight is 3.99 ounce. And the total weight with both the knife and the sheath, 11.36 ounce. It does feature full tang lanyard hole. Comes with a nice Kydex sheath and a tech lock. Real quick close-up of this blade. It is mid-saber grind. Traditional drop point. It's got some jimping all the way on top, midway from the ricasso to the midsection of the blade. Full tang goodness right here. All right. Generous sharpening choil that will also act as a finger choil. Nicely contoured handles. It's got a bit of a guard. Feels pretty good in the hand. The handles themselves are all rounded off all the way around. So no matter how you plan on holding this, should feel very comfortable. I could see this being a great hunting knife out in the field. You know, if you're an avid outdoors person, this might work out just well for all around use. Okay. We're going to be testing out this log right here, something very realistic and small. You might take this hiking, hunting, fishing, campsite. So just an idea of how this particular knife is going to perform. Let's just check out the sheath real quick. It's a real nice taco style Kydex sheath. It's got the rivet holes here that you could add a pouch to it if you wanted to, or since this has a full-size tech lock, you can remove this tech lock and put something third party on here. Dangler system. I would like to have seen a dangler system on this of some sort. Piece of Kydex with a nylon belt loop, or whatever it is your favorite third party attachment. You can add it on here. Ferro rod attachment, ferro rod holder, scraper. You know, whatever it is, it's got some options. It's got that nice thumb ramp. I love that carbon fiber look that's molded into the Kydex. Let's just pop this knife in real quick. Small little rattle, little side to side play, no up and down play. I'm good to go the way it is. Let's do some testing right here with this log. I am going to do a little bit of chopping with this knife. Just, you can see it's not too thick of a diameter, but I kind of want to get this piece right here and then work with the rest of this piece. Once again, just a small demonstration of this knife. I did add this lanyard, so I'm just going to put it on for safety reasons. Feels good in the hand. Again, if you're going to chop with something, you know, this size, you know, you're going to have to keep your hand towards the rear of the handle. So let's give it a go. Let's see how the heat treat and the performance of Jeabrother's 14C28N is going to do. So again, a good test for delimbing. You know, I don't have a a tree on a daily basis to do testing, so this will be good. Give you an idea how this is going to perform if you want to delimb something. Not a chopper. It's very, very lightweight. So this is going to be a decent test. I'm glad I picked something of a decent size because it would take a long time to chop with this. Probably better off doing some V-notch batoning. And, you know, maybe I'll do that. You're definitely going to need a lanyard. Okay, if you're going to do some delimbing and some chopping, you're definitely going to want to grab the rear of the handle, and to give you some better leverage, a lanyard will do you justice. Okay, you can see the discoloration. I'm going to try and use every part of the blade, but trying to chop with the rear of the blade of this knife is a little tough, but I'll try my best. I'm doing it right now. All right, good. So this is a pretty decent hard piece of wood. So good test. If you're going to delimb, I think this knife will do just fine. That looks good. Okay, so now I've got two nice pieces. In fact, you know what? Let me just clean this up. I'm going to process this a little bit further, but this time I'm going to do a little bit of V-notch batoning. I'm going to go try and get through this knot right here. So I know it's a little on the awkward side, its position, but okay, you can see I'm going to go through that knot just to make sure. In fact, let me do it. Now, remember, this is a channel that tests out knives, and you know, sometimes I go hard, sometimes I don't. You know, you don't really need to go hard. You just need to make these wedges here to cut this piece of wood that you want. So if you have the time, take your time. Okay, using that front part of the blade. Definitely giving some good wax because the blade is getting stuck in here. But as you can see, so far so good. Now I'm going to do a bit of the rear of the blade here. All right, hopefully you see that. Doing the rear. All right. Looking good so far. Holding up. And now that's because it's curved, it's a bit raised, so just got to be careful. Whoops. All right, there we go. So example of a little bit of chopping, delimbing, and some V-notch batoning. Looking good. Let's move on. Doing real good. Let's do a little example of some vertical batoning. Well, I'll have to pick that up in a second or two. Let's try the front of the blade here, where I'm going to bang on the tip a bit. So far, so good. Let me just grab that other piece. All right, let's do it again. Let's try the very rear. Excellent. See if I can get them even smaller. Beautiful, beautiful. So if you have a firebox stove or something of similar size, you are preparing to make a little fire, cook up some rice, some dinner, warm up a beverage. This knife is doing the job, and we're not going too hard. Okay, I'm trying to use this knife in a smart way for everybody, but so far so good. All right, I can even get a little bit thinner with this. All right, look how nice that is, man. All right. Looks like it is doing the job. Let's just see real quick how we're doing. You could see all the scuff marks. I have used every part of the blade so far. Let me see if I choke up a bit, if it feels better. Oh, it doesn't matter, you know. I mean, it looks like it's doable with the handle and that sharpening choil that will also act as a finger choil. But so far so good. We're still sharp. All right. Let's try doing some horizontal batoning with the whole blade. Horizontal batoning, going to use the whole blade here, and then we will test out the edge retention once again. This is just a little easy to roll, so let me just be careful here. Okay, there we go. Split the wood for the most part. Sure did a good job too. Okay, cutting the wood fibers. Hard piece of wood, but you know what, it doesn't matter. If your goal, for me, if your goal is to burn wood, to cook, to warm up food, etc., I don't care if it's dead wood, dry wood, hard wood, whatever, this will work. All right, let me get rid of this bark over here. So if you needed quarters, you can make quarters. I've already made the small kindling, and technically the feather sticks to make the feathers. There you go. All right. Here are the quarters. Let me just clean this up, and we will do individual curls, feather sticks, and then we'll figure out what else we're going to do with this knife. Quarters, we made, I don't know, our feather sticks. Kind of want longer feather sticks, but these will do. Actually, I might just use the tip over here and see if I can just snap this. All right. Make a little bit longer feather stick. I think this will work. All right, but still a couple quarters for the fire. Let's make individual curls here. Let me just choke up as an example. I don't know what feels more comfortable, choked up or using the handle. I have to be quite honest, for me it feels a little bit weird. In any case, it's doing the job. After that bit of work, using the front part of that blade to make some of the curls here. All right, let me just use something a little bit longer. These short pieces are nice for like the firebox stove, but for the longer pieces, much easier to make what I want to make, which is right now the individual curls right here. Perfect. Actually, I should save this for the feather stick. Let me just use this quartered piece right here. Right, and you get the idea. You want to make a big pile of this stuff. So far, so good. I think this is a good example, right? And then you could just pile your wood on top of here. You don't even have to make feather sticks. Light it up with a lighter, scraper, ferro rod, whatever. And good example, good example. Now let us definitely make feather stick here. All right. And so choked up now, doing a really good job. Okay. I mean, hey, look, man, you got a pile of this stuff over here. You got to, you set up a pile or a TP type setup, all feather sticks. You start sticking the smaller pieces of wood all in between. You light that up, man, you're going to have a fire in no time. And the knife did a good job, okay? Little tip testing in the reverse grip, right? I don't think I need the lanyard, but you know what, just for safety's sake, let me just put it on. But the reverse grip feels good. I used this the other day to chop another test. Let's see if I could split this. I'm going to do it right in the middle, and hopefully the tip will come through. Tip is good to me. All right. I think that's a pretty fair test. Let me do it again. Once again, I'll put it in the center. Hopefully it's a lot more stressful for the tip. Excellent. Let me pick up those pieces. I'll leave that knife there for everybody. Did the job, okay? It did the job. Now I do have this other piece right here. It's nice. I wanted to make a divot, and the tip is looking good, all right? So let me just put this on the side, and I have this piece right here. This is kiln dried wood, all right? Just so everybody knows. I wanted to get something decently hard, dried, and seasoned, so this is perfect. And I wonder, for some of you bushcraft experts, if you ever use this type of kiln dried wood to make a bearing block and a board for the bow drill. And I'd be curious to see if something like this will work, because it's nicely dried wood, and you could set this up before you head out. Practice your skills. All right, that's a pretty decent sized divot, right? And then you would use your knife or whatever to make a little notch here. I mean, this is kind of thick, but just an example. You know what I mean? You just make a little notch. Or V-notch or whatever it is that you do. And, you know, again, it has to be thinner, but an example, okay? So pretty good tip test. That tip is still there. Nice divot. It's pretty deep in the hole. I think you'd be definitely okay with this tip. I want to make a tent stake. All right, got this piece right here. It's pretty hard, so actually I don't want to make the point yet, but let's use the example of the tip of the blade to do a little bit of chamfering. So I guess, you know, the purpose of using the tip of the blade is in case you want to make a spoon. I don't have that kind of time here. So the best example I could show everybody is to do the chamfering here. Okay, good. I'm glad that the bark is coming off. And again, you could use your thumb to do some of the finer work here. If you're trying to round something off, maybe this is something you do. I'm not a bushcraft expert, but again, I'm just trying to show you and give you ideas. You know, I mean, this could be flatter, so just use the blade, just shave it down to make it as flat as possible. Okay, that's pretty flat now. And once again, I'll make that. Maybe you're making a dowel, you know what I mean? Not a tent stake. Maybe you're making a dowel and you need to just make the top of this a little bit more tapered so you could fit it into the hole. And again, you use your thumb to easily, or you could, you know, do this, however you want to do it. Just some examples. I know that some of the bushcrafters, they use their thumb. All right. But that's an example of the chamfering. Now I'm going to do the notch. I think right here is good. So this is a really sturdy piece of wood. And I'm digging in right now and nicely rounded off over here on the handle. So, you know, you're not gonna hurt yourself. Feel that those hot spots, you know, with it rounded off. It's a pretty decent sized blade, you know. This is a nice tough piece of wood, man. This wood is no joke right here. So give me a bit of a challenge, you know, to use this blade. My hands are sweating right now. You know, the Micarta is nice, but it is just a tad bit slippery. In fact, you know what? Let me just put on a glove. Okay, another example. I mean, you can. The glove does make it feel a little bit better, that's for sure. And it's nice to have a sturdy piece of stick so it doesn't accidentally snap on you. All right, but once again, hopefully I have proven a good example for everybody. That this knife is capable of doing some finer work. This is definitely a nice hard piece of wood for sure. I think that's pretty decent. I mean, again, you could refine it. you know, it's not a dedicated bushcraft knife, but if you need to do some tasks similar to this, I think you will be pleasantly surprised that it's capable. So that's pretty good. And now let's make the 10 point. With the glove, I got to tell you, it feels even better choking up than with the bare hand. I don't know why. That's just me. I want to make a bit of a robust tip here. Nothing too thin where it's going to break off. Take off a little bit of that bark. All right, 10 stake. All right, now let's do some camp tests. I finally got my rope and my paracord. Let's do some testing. All right, so since this knife is more geared towards outdoors, bushcrafting type stuff, I really didn't want to do too much, you know, work for like a construction site or anything like that. So possible items you may take out to a campsite. All right, so let's get started here. Just got some new paracord right here. Let's see how this works out. Okay, pretty easy for the most part. All right. I have a little bit of waxed string. I mean, it's very possible you might take something like this out to a campsite. Maybe you're doing some car camping out of the back of your car, and this might be tucked away somewhere in the car, nice and easy, works fine. You might find some of this material out. You know, it's some kind of cotton material, but maybe, again, you're a construction worker and you're avid outdoorsman. You grab this from work instead of buying anything, and you could use this however you want. All right, so that worked out well. Do it one more time for everybody. Okay. Some synthetic rope. I mean, definitely a possible candidate to take out with you into the woods. Okay. Especially if you're hunting, you need something pretty sturdy and expensive. All right. We have synthetic rope right here. I'll get to these two last. Again, if maybe you're taking this type of material out into the field for whatever reason, this is doubled up, stitched up, doubled. Okay, easy to cut. Now I just got some fresh new jute rope. So let's take a little piece right here. Make sure that doesn't roll off. Do a little cutting. Sorry about that. Okay, it came off. Good. So I just push cut that. So in case you have a scenario of a push cut of some sort, right? Like I just did, that worked out okay. Let's try it again. All right, just depressing, pushing it down now. Well, slicing. This will make a great camp knife, you know, pretty decent. All right, very good, very good. Let's try this material. You may not take this out to the woods. I don't know. It's pretty sturdy stuff. And, you know, for me, it's being thrown out right here. I would use it. So far, so good. And then last but not least, this real thick, tough tie. You may need to take some of this tie out into the field, you know, tie the legs of the deer, whatever the scenario is, man. You could think of something. And okay, pretty good. Now, I want to test out the spine and see if it'll spark a ferro rod. I might have to use the choil, but it's a tool, so let's give it a go. Got a few different type of pieces of wood. All right, some fat wood here. So I always like to try the fat wood first. I also have my ferro rod. Let's see what the spine where the jimping is how this will handle. Now this is fat wood. It might not work with all kinds of wood. Yeah, the jimping is okay. It's not doing the greatest job. Let me do another. Try it this way. You definitely have to put effort into it, all right? But with the fat wood, get some kind of scraping here. And again, it might be enough. I'm just kind of curious with the choil. Yeah, with the choil a little bit better, I think, because it's a little sharper, the choil. So maybe the choil might be your best bet if you're in a hurry. But that's a pretty decent pile. I kind of like the choil, using the choil better than this area. But now, you know what? Let me just try it this way. Hold on a second. So what I'm using is this part of the drop point, the sharper side of the drop point. Seems to be doing okay. Nothing fantastic though. But if you need to do some scraping, okay, looks like, at least with fat wood, this part of the blade, the jimping and the choil will do you justice. So let's just move this over. Now let's see, I'm kind of skeptical about these other pieces of wood. Let me just try this one first. This is that kiln dried wood. Not too good. Not too good. Not too good. Not very efficient. Let's try the choil. Nah, not that good either with the choil with this piece of kiln dried wood. Too bad. Let me try a more 90-degree type angle here. Nah, no good, no good. And last but not least, I think this might be the best option, depending on what type of wood that you need to scrape, but still not very good. So if anything, this can be sharpened over here. I don't know if anybody would want to sharpen the jimping. I wouldn't sharpen that choil, but this is probably your best bet. If you want to sharpen something over here, then you could just, you know, slam the tip down into whatever medium and try and do whatever work you need to do. But as you can see, it's so little. It's just so much effort for very little return here. Okay, so that was a bit of a bust with this piece of kiln dried wood. Now let me try some of the wood that I batoned with. All right, let's see. Using the jimping right now. No good. Not as good. Not as good. Not as good. Okay, so let's get a bit of that bark. Let me try the choil area with this little piece of wood that I used to chop V-notch, etc. Not good. Last but not least, it's not efficient, that's for sure. I mean, you see a little pile here, but that's just a combination of everything. And again, you might take 10, 15 minutes to get a decent sized pile. if you're just using some wood. However, I don't know if you're trying to make like an arrow or something, and you're trying to round things off, maybe the spine might do it. I doubt it. But there you go. So at least with the fat wood, you know that it's going to do justice. Now, let's just test out the ferro rod. Let me just make sure I move everything over to the side because I don't want to start a fire in the garage at all. Be very irresponsible. Okay, just want to spark this up a bit. Okay, so let's see now. Jimping first. It's very little. Very little. I'm keeping the knife stationary and very little. All right, so let's try the sharpening choil. Much better. That's what I would use, looks like. Okay, you can see that it's definitely sparkling with the sharpening choil. All right, and again, if you have the courage to sharpen this up a bit, that's your business. It's your knife. You do what you want when you pay for it. Okay, and last but not least, this part of the spine over here. Let's see. Yeah, it'll work. That was a nice one. Okay, troops. There we go, man. Hopefully that helped you with your decision on purchasing this Jeabrother drop point blade. It's not bad. It's got a small issue over here, but it's not a deal breaker because you want fluff. You want to do some scraping. I'm using the edge if that's what I want to do. Okay. I'm always going to take some kind of sharpening system with me. But if you want fluff, you want to round something off. All right. Might take a little more work, but I'll use that edge for sure. All right, troops. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think. Let's conclude. All right, man. Knife did pretty good all the way around. I mean, I did what I needed to do with this knife. If I was outdoors, I don't think I would have a problem whatsoever. Now, I would definitely combine this with an axe and a saw. However, you saw that I was able to do a little bit of chopping, V-notch batoning, vertical, horizontal batoning with this knife. It did fine, The sharpness of the spine is a little lacking. You can fix that if you want. If not, I suggest you bring one of these ferro rod scrapers, and this way you don't get discoloration on your knife. If you're more, prone not to, mar up your blade, if you don't think of it more of as a tool, I can understand that. But this knife is $40, man. You got nothing to lose. I mean, that's a pretty good price for this knife. You get a Kydex sheath, you get a tech lock, Micarta scales, 14C 28N steel, pretty good stuff. And you saw it just cut through everything. It did everything that I needed to do. The point worked out fine. I can't fault this knife at all, other than the spine. At least with the fat wood, it did a good job. But again, I have no illusions. You could pick up stuff off the floor, leaves, little sticks and branches. But there are some places where it's pretty clean, like here in Florida, immaculate. You can't really cut down the trees or what have you, and there's no sticks or leaves on the ground, so you might have to bring some stuff. And perfect time to practice your skills. So, all right, troops, I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think about this knife and the video. Let me bring awareness, everybody. Hashtag 22 a day, hashtag 22 a day no more. There are veterans and active military wants to get out of the service. They do face a lot of challenges, and unfortunately, one of these challenges is suicide. So at the end of this video, pause on the slides. There'll be phone numbers that you can call, websites that you can surf. And a heartfelt message from one of your own, Martin Miller. Please seek the help you all have earned and deserve. Troops, Legionnaires, new recruits, thanks again. At the ready, hold the line. Take care.
Legionnaires!